Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your host, Tony Cañas. And after weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks of recording episodes with people that I've never chatted with before, 10 minutes before we record, today recording with two friends. So this is more of a fun conversation than a traditional episode. They have launched a new effort, so we are talking about that. So today I have with me Carlos Miguel Vidan, and I really want to say the insurance elephant, Pat Kelahan, but the effort, the new company is called the Insurance Elephant. So and Pat Kelahan. So first of all, thank you both for joining me today. How's it going?
Sure. Good stuff. Even better now that we're speaking with you.
Awesome.
Thank you for the invite, Tony.
Oh, more than happy. And by the way, they have both been on the podcast before, so they're both alumni. And Pat I've known for several years. Carlos, I met at InsurTech Connect 3 or 4 years ago. We've chatted a few times since then. So we always give the guest a chance to give the elevator pitch. So what is this new effort that you guys have launched?
Well, I'm still working at H2M, doing great stuff as an insurance consultant and such. But the Insurance Elephant was a concept that came up in 2018 series of articles, and it's something I've been known as in the insurtech world. And in meeting Carlos, I think it was fall of last year. Carlos, is that correct?
Yeah.
And I'm involved in helping startups globally, and Carlos was involved in a very interesting venture in Lima called Red Salud, a healthcare startup. And we spoke, we talked, etc. And beyond business, we're also dads, husbands. We've got kids that we have to keep in line. We've got the same energy for helping underserved markets, very important to me. And Carlos has enormous background in agency work, brokerages and such. So early 2022, I said, Insurance Elephant's cool, but it's maybe it's time to monetize it as I look forward in time. And Carlos and I spoke about it, and he, I can't be that 100% or even some percent, because I have a job that I'm dedicated to. But Carlos said, hey, I'll be a part of the Elephant. I can be the managing director if you'll have me. I remember that. He said, if it's okay. And I said, well, of course it's okay. So the Insurance Elephant became more than just an alter ego for me. It became a business. And since the name was known, we just needed to backfill what's what. And both of us had been working on helping companies get a foothold, develop, scale, et cetera. So we thought, why not formalize it? And, not just for us, but to provide a potential company that can help, startups that are out there alone. They're fighting for funding, they're fighting for development, they're fighting for recognition. So who beats through the jungle better than an elephant? And that's what we're looking at, is trying to help these companies and help underserved markets particularly. So that's kind of how it transpired, Tony.
Makes perfect sense. So basically you're providing advice, consulting, opening doors, helping find funding for those emerging market insurance startups.
We're not experts at it, so we're learning as we go as well. If I had $1 billion for funding, it'd be simple. But as we learn and help one company, Dash Clinics or PayU Technologies or Bharat Claims or whatever, then we can help other companies as well, and we become more well-known through things. So it's a cool opportunity to just bridge into a more formalized operation.
And I'm going to take a wild guess. I I have talked to some venture capital people, usually about letting them know that I can help the insurtechs they've invested in with recruiting. But it's not a world that I know very well. I'm guessing that most venture capital based here in the States and in Europe is shy about investing in emerging markets.
And a big piece of that, besides just not knowing about it, because right now, if you go to ITC and you talk to people, insurtech begins and ends in the United States and Europe, maybe Southeast Asia, but there's 3 billion people waiting for it in Africa, South Asia, Latin America. So the economic relativities, if you take, for example, Dash Clinics, which is a company that's starting up healthcare clinics for rural communities in India, their ask for their financial runway that they'll be comfortable with is $10,000 per month. Even if you say $1 million, Tony, venture capitalists, it's nuisance money. So what we deal with is oxygen money for these businesses, oxygen to keep them past development and getting into scale. So it's the economies, or a company that says, oh, we can provide consulting services, that's $50,000. Well, $50,000 in Lagos, Nigeria, that's 3/4 of a year cash flow. It's a market type that isn't well noticed by venture capitalists. It's mostly angel investors. And then if for some reason they scale up big, you get the, you eventually the venture capitalists come, but you think in a market of 1.3 billion people like India is, you could attract attention. If you say, look, if I capture 1% of that market, how many people is that? It's 13 million people that are your customers. If you had 13 million persons in the US, you'd have venture capitalists falling all over you because you got the business. So it's an interesting challenge. It's exciting though. And the emotional and financial return to these businesses is relatively huge based on what's what. So, we're trying to serve the underserved.
Okay, those numbers make a lot of sense to me, and I'm not a numbers person, but those numbers make a lot of sense to me. 10,000 burn rate per month here in the US, like one developer, right?
That's coffee money.
Yeah, like one developer, and you're over that easily. And I was really blown away. Like for me, it was really like even though I'm from Costa Rica, my entire career has been here in the States, and for me, having had PayU on the podcast, introduction that you made, was really eye-opening in that Nigeria is big. I mean, not as big as the States, but
it's 240 million people.
That's I don't know, 80 times the size of Costa Rica, right? Like it's a big country, and also he made a really good case for the similarities between the Nigerian market and the India market. So if you figure it out, and if it's successful in Nigeria, and then you can expand the same model to 1 billion, what is it, like, I don't know, in this
1.3 billion.
1.3 exactly. So yes, the per customer potential profit might be a lot lower than in the States, but the mass is truly amazing. So I yeah, for an investor from the developed world,
we don't want to overlook. There's a piece for the Dash clinics that they're trying to mitigate the lack of health care access for what is 600 million people in these tier 6 and 7 communities. They're rural. but it's still 600 million people who don't have regular access to healthcare. And it's not because the country's bad or good or the economy's bad or good. It's just access. It's just somebody needs to pay attention to them and provide that magic thing that allows them to get in. And that's what they're doing with these clinics. And all Carlos and I have to do is just, we don't have to round up the horses to ride. We just have to be there to ride on them to help guide these companies, hopefully to better things, to scale, to access to funding, whatever. And between his connections and mine, we're hopeful that it's something that works out in a positive way. And so far, so good.
Well, yeah.
Also,
go ahead.
To add on to what Patrick was saying, is, and I've been there. I had a startup for 7 years, so it's when I talk to them, we try to give them peace of mind of this will happen, so as a startup, you always need someone to talk to that can understand you, and that's something we also do with them. But along the way, we help them see beyond what they're seeing. So for example, in Desh clinics, we have a concept called the octopus, and what is the octopus is the collaterals that can be developed around Desh clinics without Desh clinics losing sight of what they are doing. That's an example. In the case of PayU, and Patrick knows it better than I do, is how they've been able to pivot. While they get the insurance up and running, which has its complexities, how they can pivot to do other things. Bharat claims the same thing, how they can pivot. But again, you mentioned something that is very important. This ends up being like a franchise model, So what you're really building is a franchise model that you can take to any underserved market. So Desh Clinics is a perfect example of something that can work in Nigeria, or it can even work here in Peru, or it could work in Pakistan, because it's a franchise model that is for underserved, underdeveloped markets, But later on, we'll tell you something that is different, which is something we're working on out of Canada and the US, which is on the blockchain side. But we'll leave that for after because we want to concentrate right now on the underserved markets.
Okay, so we've talked about PayU and we've talked about the clinics. So what are the other two startups that you've been working with?
Yeah, I've been a mentor with what was originally the claim consultants out of Delhi, India, and the insurance penetration overall in India is about 1.5%, give or take, right? And the big problem is there's, education is one thing, but claim efficiency, caring for claims has been a really underserved part of it. And for example, if there's 1,200 brokers, there were only 6 claim companies a year ago in India for 1.3 billion people. So Hitesh Saini, a very smart young man, built tech that can easily not only handle claims, but through artificial intelligence takes an insurance policy, which we know gets into very thick verbiage, and it translates it into a page or two of what the customer can expect their benefits from, right? So it says, oh, here's all this thick, and India is a great insurance environment. The regulators are great, really smart claim folks and brokers, but it's, the bureaucracy of insurance is enormous. But you get artificial intelligence, you put the policy in one end and it spits out 2 pages, says, here's exactly what you have coverage for, in a way that the average person can see. They're also collaborating with hospitals to get immediate claims payments made, or even lending money if there's, not health insurance there. So it's now Bharat claims, and Bharat's a very popular word in Hindu language. So they are building not only health insurance claims, life insurance claims, but now they're working on auto repair processing, auto microloans to get your repairs done. So it all comes from tech scaling, and they've got really clever tech, and the tech is portable. It's something that can move again to Nigeria, it could move to Mexico City, it could move to wherever. So these are, but these are all businesses that butt up against convention. They butt up against what the customer's expectations are. You know, as same in India as it in anywhere else, people don't really know insurance that well. All right. But if someone passes away, a breadwinner in India, there are government programs that exist for everyone to be able to collect something in the family, but people don't know about it. So Bharat Claims is, they're exposing it. They're turning the rocks over. They're saying, look, this is what's out there. And they're really spreading the word little by little. So it's all, yeah, it's for profit, but it's altruistic as well, Tony. You want to make things better for people. Insurance is the foundation to economic opportunity, wealth transfer, protecting against terrible things happening, being able to buy property, all those things. Let's get those into these markets. And that's really, all those pieces fall into place.
Okay. So those are the companies you're working with right now in the developing world, right?
Right. We've got Bharat Claims. We've got PayU. Okay. We've got the one that Carlos mentioned, and Carlos, the third one that we're already working with is
we got
Dash
Bharat,
Clinics.
we got
Dash Clinics.
Which is a interesting anecdote here is that Patrick, when we decided to launch the Insurance Elephant, Patrick was already working with Bharat and PayU, and me looking in LinkedIn and being curious, I certainly sent an invite to this guy, AJ, in India that was working in this interesting company called Dash Clinics. I've never heard of him before. And he accepts the connection. He says, thanks for reaching out. And I said, well, thank you for accepting. Let's jump on a call. And it was love at first sight, like they say, I called Patrick and I said, you gotta meet this guy. Mm-hmm. These guys have something really interesting and they need help. They're really good, and it's been 2 to 3 months. We've been working very intensively with them. We have an agreement with them. They're fantastic people, but that's the power of technology. Again, LinkedIn. And the same happened with the fourth company, which is not from an underreserved market. It's again a guy, Suresh, from Canada. He sends me an invite. I accept, and he says, "Do you want to talk?" And I said, "Sure, why not?" So he says, "Well, I'm from the construction industry. I've been working in the Middle East all my life, building huge billion-dollar construction projects, and I built a blockchain solution for a major problem in the construction industry, and I'm looking for someone that knows insurance." I go, okay, I'll listen. I don't know if I'm an expert in what you're going to tell me, but let's go for it, And I saw he was a connection of Patrick too, So again, I said, Patrick, you know this guy? And I said, yeah, but we spoke briefly, take the call. So I took the call, and he goes, look, the major problem with construction projects is that there's all these contractors, and there's all this information that gets passed around. No one ever gets to have the same information at the same time. So whenever there's a problem, they ask everyone to produce the information, and long and behold, all the information is different. You don't know what is true. There's lots of litigation, overrun costs, more time. The guy that owns the project gets screwed. The guy that are financing, lawyers make a lot of money, lots of problems. So I built a blockchain solution so that everyone has the same information at the same time. And I said, wow, this makes sense. I'm not an expert, but, so we jump on a call with Patrick. And Patrick gets his thinking cap on and he says, wait a minute, I know this other guy called Michael out of the US that has something that can complement this, So Michael, who had been not in the, Patrick, you can correct me here, but he hasn't been in the insurance industry per se, but he's being related to the insurance industry. I don't know if
he was doing surety bonds and that type of performance insurance.
Construction super heavy.
And for about 20 years in the crane and rigging businesses. And he knew at that time that there were problems with getting subrogation dealt with well. So he patented a process that is now accepted by the US federal courts as the, it matches up to exactly what their latest regulations are. So you've got that, and you've got Suresh. And at the time, Adam Poole from Safety Compass, I said, well, yeah, if you need someone on site to verify this stuff, Safety Compass stuff. So you start to put the pieces together, as Carlos says, the pieces of the puzzle. So between the octopus and pieces of the puzzle, we've got Carlos's favorite direction. So we put these guys together, and they have now are launching a company that is going to market this, 3Ps block, and it's a great thing. And it's not necessarily dealing with underserved markets, but it's taking startups that otherwise are looking for their place, and we're putting those pieces together for them. And we're hopeful, because it's a great, I'm from construction background as well, and insurance. So if you can eliminate the unknown and have people with the best evidence, then all of a sudden, the conflicts for liability disappear. So it's a cool thing, so it's not like, it's not like underserved necessarily, but it's underrepresented business as well. And Suresh has a deep involvement in the MENA region, GCC, particularly the United Arab Emirates. And, so he's connected, and we can touch base, and we can get, people from that area tied in. And it's a connection business. So the insurance elephant, we know people, not everybody, but same as you for your business, your references and connections are what help you place new persons in new roles, because you keep your ear to the ground. And
Yep.
Company A needs a great developer, company B needs a claim officer, whatever, and you start to put them together, and it's the same idea. It's just paying attention. That's what the insurance elephant does. We pay attention.
Well, and you guys have combined like 50 years of insurance experience, 50 or 60.
I got 30. I don't know.
We're between 50 and 60 the years of experience, so that's not bad.
And like they say, you're 2 calls away from the right person, and here it's using your network, so these huge companies, for example, with 3Ps block, we're having to target the big carriers or big brokers, and on the construction side or the surety side, but huge companies that have plenty of rooms, but you just got to find the right room to walk into, so you call one person, based on that relationship, you got to be explained what this is about. He will refer you to the next person, and you got to be patient. And before you know, boom, you're sitting in front of the right person, and that's when it's showtime, Key thing too is that 3 of these companies, they're basically evolving as projects, one, which is Desk Clinics, is a reality, so in that case, what you're selling is something that is already cash flow positive, it's generating revenue, it's got like 58 clinics already up and running, so that's good for us too, because it's a different flavor you're selling here, rather than just selling a PowerPoint, which is not bad, or an Excel sheet, so yeah, it is not just one flavor. We got more than one flavor, and we enjoy it so far, so we can't complain.
Yeah, I'll give you a kind of an interesting anecdote, Tony. It happened just today. PayU has pivoted into microloans for the ride sharing business and such, and it's taken off, but it's capital intensive, right? So you need the capital, and we've been kind of trickling it into the market, and a company in a neighboring state to where PayU has said, oh yeah, we've got a ride sharing business, and we've got hundreds of ride sharing drivers that want to have access to microloans to keep their vehicles up to speed. So now all of a sudden, $100,000 backlog of potential loans becomes almost $1 million, right? So that's all right. So that's a lot. So I start to call around. I speak to a very good friend in the States, and I say, look, we got this going. What do you think? He says, oh, just happens that I'm meeting with a friend of mine who's an investor, but he's introducing me to a gentleman who's an investor from Nigeria. Right. And that's because of connections. You know, you just, it's serendipity, and it doesn't always work that way, but keeping your ear to the ground helps out. And if this gentleman from Nigeria is of interest, that might be the capital provider for PayU in their business. And that's to the heart of what we want to do. You've got ride sharing drivers. They're supporting their families based on what they're doing. They've got to keep their vehicles. They're all used vehicles. They've got to keep them up to speed. And if we can provide funding for them to keep it going, the principle of velocity of money in that market, if you provide $1, they're spending it, and it really becomes a worth of $2 because it goes from the ride sharing guy to the petrol salesman, maybe it goes to the grocers, the bank, or whatever, and it really starts to bring the economies into a different spot. So
That's really cool.
it is cool.
That is really cool. Patrick, I am really curious. So after years of using the insurance elephant pseudonym or pen name, what's it been like to actually turn it into a business and to partner with, or to have somebody else representing it?
Well, the whole thing evolved over 4 years, 3-4 years, and if it's going to be a concept, that's fun, yeah, you're an insurance elephant, but really, if I look at the projects that Carlos and I were working on, whether accidentally or on purpose, if the insurance elephant is leveraged as an something that's recognized globally, and it is to a certain extent, can we then leverage that knowledge and pass it through to these companies that we're working with to help them be recognized? All right, so now we're taking it from a fun, clever, whatever you want to call it, to it's becoming a door opener. Oh, you're an insurance elephant. Oh yeah, I'll talk to you. But that's one thing. Having someone step in and really be the managing director, I don't have, I've got my regular job that I focus on, but Carlos and I, there's a concept called quick trust, right? You walk into a room, you're dealing with an audience, you're doing whatever, and there's things that come out that your expectation is, all right, I trust everybody, but you get disappointed, so you're a little standoffish. But Carlos and I hit it off pretty well. And again, I get back to the fact he's like, I've got 7 brothers. Now he's gonna be like my eighth brother. We can call, we can talk about stuff. And that's one piece, the emotional side. But man, 30 years of experience in insurance and in big companies. His personal octopus arms reach into every large brokerage around the globe, and connections, contacts, that's a secondary thing. So we've developed our own octopus between he and I of how things go. So there wasn't any concern, Tony, on my part at all. When Carlos suggested, I said, great, let's do it. I celebrate diversity and getting other ideas from other persons. It becomes something stronger than 1 + 1.
But I've got to ask, any sisters, or is it literally 8 boys?
So yeah, I've got 3 sisters as
Oh,
well.
okay, okay.
My parents didn't have TV, so.
On my end, I gotta say, I'm very humbled. I'm gracious with Patrick. I thought when I was nervous, to be honest, when I proposed to him. It sounds literally I was proposing to him. I was about to get on one knee, and he said,
"That's funny."
Yes, right away. Yeah, and we were able to agree on the 3 things we had to agree. I said, but Patrick, you got to be majority owner. Doesn't matter where it's 1%, but you got to be the majority owner. That was my only thing that I told them. But so far it's fantastic. We got no reason to think why it's going to go any other way. We've talked to a lot of people along the way that have been really good in giving us feedback, ideas. And so far everyone we've called has been open to helping. So far so good, and we don't intend to change it.
It's a cool mission, right? You go to somebody who's successful in insurance or an angel investor. Hey, you're talking with our company. With one of our companies. You're helping grow insurance in the developing world. It'll make a huge difference. Maybe even make you a ton of money, right? But it's a feel good sale. So
Yeah, another anecdote. I don't know if you've interviewed Nicholas Schur from Casco. Great
I don't
guy.
think so.
Now they're out of Hamburg, Germany. He does content development. He does quick MVP development. He's really a bright younger gentleman. He's got great staff working with him. And they had reached out to me, as the insurance elephant. They said, "Oh, can we talk to you about, quick to market stuff?" And I said, "Well, I don't really necessarily need it, but let's talk." And then the insurance elephant came together. So a couple of weeks ago, we talked with Nicholas, and I had gotten a proposal from his business development person. And the proposal was, yeah, we can do this, and it's $10,000. We can do that, it's $5,000. I said, I work with companies in underserved markets. All right. One of the aspects you're selling is their cash flow for a month. I said, but there's opportunity there for your company because nobody else is doing what you do in those markets. So we're having another call with them. Nicholas got on board pretty quick. He said, wow, this is pretty cool. We can work our pricing and all that stuff if the opportunity's there. And he's another piece of our puzzle because he has persons who develop content. And then we can say, yeah, we can share this expertise with people, but they have to realize the economics are relatively small compared to what they're used to. So we're even educating the industry somewhat in what's happening. So.
The other thing, Tony, to keep in mind is, as we were talking with Patrick, I said, look, there's all this good stuff that is behind the insurance elephant. You just mentioned some of them, But the other thing from a business perspective, and let's be very frank here, is that we're not going after the same piece of the pie that everyone is going. You go to ITC, like Pat said, and everyone is after the same piece of the pie. And having had a startup, I was like, I'm not going through that again. I'm cured with this. They would have to hire me and pay me a lot of money, but I'm not going through this. So that's the good thing about this. You got all this green field that you can start really working with really nice people that no one is really listening to them. So that's, from our perspective too, it's a very feel good from us too that we don't have these 100 people chasing us for the same piece of the pie.
That's a very fulfilling way to work.
Yeah, and ultimately, if we start to get some traction, every day Hugh Bertine works hard from Chile trying to help the LATAM insurtechs, do their thing, and can we assist there? Can we start to blend expertise and forces and such, and it's all of these markets that can benefit from exposure and collaboration, and that's what we're looking at. And of course, Africa is just an enormous opportunity. I get regular contacts from a gentleman out of Kenya. He read about PIR. He says, "Oh, the boda drivers, those are the little three-wheel motorcycles. They can need the same thing." Right. So Henry Mokua out of Kenya, he's my best friend. And when PIR bridges into there, he's going to be our country director because he's a small insurance brokerage company, but he's fired up. He can see the opportunity. So it's a benefit. It's just cool to watch. I wish I had, you know, a couple $100 million. We could give oxygen money to thousands of these companies.
I,
The only thing that is very tricky, to be honest, sorry to interrupt you, is the time zones.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a tricky. What time is it over there? What time is it in the other place? You know, having calls at 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning, 11 at night, but
so
that's just an anecdote.
so my girlfriend is currently taking a year off and traveling.
Yep.
By the way, listeners, you can follow her adventures wheelstravelstheworld.com. But she started in Indonesia. And so the first couple of weeks, the time zone difference was exactly 12 hours to Eastern time. Super easy, super easy. Like I get up, shower, get out of the shower. She's finishing her day. She's back in the hotel. Then I go to bed. No, excuse me. Then she goes to bed. I work. And just before I go to bed, she's getting ready for her day. So super easy. Then she moved a little bit east. So last couple of weeks we've been dealing with like 7 or 8 hour time differences. They're tough. It's very tough. It's tough to figure out.
India's standard time is 9.5 hours different than EST. Yeah. It's a half hour. You know, and it's crazy stuff, but you know what, we deal with it. It's a small barrier, but it's back when I was in grad school, part of what I did when in teams was one of the first things was recognize that the time zone differences with whom you're working are always different. They might be 3 hours East Coast, West Coast, but you might be dealing with somebody in India. So we in the business have to understand that insurance is not within the US. The biggest opportunities are everywhere else. So you got to start thinking time zones are they're not an inconvenience. They're part of you accepting that there's things happening elsewhere.
The other thing, Patrick, is that, sorry to interrupt you, Tony, is that technology. See, in the past, we would have had to get on a plane and go to India to do this. Now, you know, we jump on these calls, you know, like Patrick says, you get around the time zone. So having a call at 5, 6, 7 in the morning, it's not that bad either, because then you have the rest of the day to do things. So I will work during the day. I'll send them the information. When they wake up, I'm going to bed, you know, but technology allows us to do it.
You find a rhythm that works for the time difference. When you were talking about the 3-wheeled motorcycles or scooters, it really like made it clear in my mind how it takes a different thinking. Like here in the States, you try to get coverage for you know, a 3-wheeled device that commercially carries people. It'd be petrifyingly difficult to right. Like it's way too dangerous. But in a developing country where there's no liability and the cost of healthcare is literally a fraction, just you have to learn to think differently.
Let me give you an example of different. If you look at the 1.3 billion people in India, very solid insurance administration regulation. There is virtually no outpatient insurance product available to Indians. In hospital, okay, but outpatient right now there's a few products, but there's not much there, and that's something we're also working on trying to build. You know, and it's can you imagine you show up at urgent care, and they say, okay, great, come on in. It's not getting billed to your insurance company because there's not an insurance product for outpatient delivery. Doesn't make it bad. It's different, right? Is it an opportunity? Absolutely. Can you build a product for it? Probably. Will the regulators pass it? Well, there's a new regulator in town, and he's very eager to embrace insurtech, right? So these are all things that can work on, but imagine where there's no product and you're helping bring it in. Outpatient delivery all of a sudden opens up healthcare availability anywhere. And if it's Desh clinics, someone walks up and says, yeah, I need a consult. And you say, all right, yeah, there's a product you can get for 200 rupees a month, which is about, $4, $3. You're changing people's lives. I don't know how else to put it. And it's not that we're wonderful people, but if we can innovate from the customer backwards, my favorite hashtag, you get customers who need it, you can find a way to innovate to do it. That's the insurance elephant.
The other thing to keep in mind with these markets, Tony, is that, different things that are important. For example, distribution. In our part of the world, they talk about embedded insurance. That's the new word that everyone is going crazy about. Well, in those parts of the world, it doesn't really work that way. So you got to think about phygital. You need people selling insurance, but through a digital device. So you're thinking about big sales forces. So we're talking to a bank in India that has 1 million salespeople out on the street selling products. But without that people, we wouldn't be able to sell anything, or the kiosks that sell newspapers. But you can't do it through paper. Okay, so you would have a B2C software where you can guide the person to purchase. So you don't necessarily have to go to a traditional bank assurance or embedded insurance like we're seeing now. You have to see, how do I construct from a different perspective that model? Then, okay, there's electronic wallets. In India, Patrick has been educating me, they don't use cash. It's crazy. It's like, he was telling me today about 250 million transactions a day. So how do I jump on that? So again, it's the puzzle. How do I put it together and construct a distribution channel or a distribution model that is geared for the needs of these type of consumers? So, and that's a fantastic challenge that it's not happening in our part of the world. But I don't know if you want to tell more about this payment method, Patrick, because I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, unified payment interface, and it's actually 1 trillion transactions a month, right? And there's no real protection for someone who's using the UPI if something goes wrong. If there's cybercrime, or just someone spoofs your card, whatever. So there's a big global insurer interested in it. We got to build out some tech. It's initial discussions, but these are the things that maybe 10 rupees per transaction, which is 7 cents. You can build in an embedded insurance in a method that is being used 1 trillion times a month. Do some math. You get 1% of that, people buying insurance. All of a sudden, it becomes serious.
Yeah, the potential market reach is absolutely ginormous in those markets.
But ask a U.S. carrier. We've got this opportunity, and they say, "Oh, no, we're not." But there's 1.3 billion people. If you get 1% of them, you're golden. Your day is made. You can retire. But if you get 1%, you're helping these people. It's just remarkable. There's a tech company that's designed an app that you take pictures of the inside of your mouth, and it predicts whether you have oral cancer or not. I kid you not. It's developed, it's ready to go. They just need that exposure and marketing, and maybe it gets into the US market. But there's such opportunity and it's persuading people in established traditional markets to look beyond the states and look at Costa Rica, look at Guatemala, look at the Brazil, look at Ecuador, look at the Caribbean, whatever. Peru has got great things going on there, but outside of the government, Carlos, but we have our own problem with the government here. So yeah, it's all of these, and it becomes a bandwidth challenge, Tony, because people reach out. They say, look what I got. And it's difficult for me. I'm like the kid that goes up to the buffet table with a small plate, and I want to load it up with everything. And there's not enough room, and I don't have enough, physical appetite. And then there's dessert, and you try to help everybody. And the more you network, that's another reason why having Carlos as an important collaborators there, because our bandwidth is bigger with having two of us.
Absolutely. Great chatting with you guys. It's been a wonderful conversation. I've got to call it a couple of minutes, so I need to cut it a little bit short. But thank you guys for coming, and happy to as you continue partnering with developing country insurtechs, happy to have them on the show, and hopefully we can drum up some interest from the investor community up here.
It's cool stuff, and I get your newsletter every month for placements and Jacobson. It's great stuff, and I wish you continued success with that, because you're a staunch figure in that market. So obviously you know a thing or two, and I'm going to say shameless lobbying for Tony Cañas as a placement expert.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you both.